They believed that the Old Testament was inerrant.
Yeah, but
and that's why they believed the resurrection, because the Old Testament prophesied of the resurrection.
No. That's not why they believe the resurrection.
So how do we, based on your reasoning, how can we say that the Bible has no mistakes in it? Because the apostles, they could have been genuine, and we could have reasons to believe in the resurrection and all the other historical events, but Paul could have made a little mistake as he's writing them.
Okay, the reason we think that, now you're getting into inerrancy. The reason we think the Bible's inerrant is because Jesus did. And I just have a personal policy. If somebody predicts and accomplishes his own resurrection from the dead, I just trust whatever the guy says. Okay? Now, can I understand and answer every objection to the Bible? No, I can't do that. There are some things I don't know. Many things I don't know. There is some knowledge I haven't discovered yet. There are some issues that we haven't been able to resolve yet. But that doesn't mean that I shouldn't trust Jesus, because we have good historical evidence that Jesus was who he said he was. And we have good historical evidence to know that Jesus said certain things about the Old Testament and about promising the New. And so even if there are things we can't explain, we can still put our trust in the Bible. Now, is it possible that there are minor errors in that book and Christianity is still true? Yeah, that's possible. Do you have to be an inerrantist to believe or to be a Christian? No, you don't. You can believe there are minor errors in that book and Christianity
but then you're making yourself the authority on where the errors are.
Yeah, that's one of the problems with it. Yeah, that is one of the problems with it. And the other problem with it is that you seem to be disagreeing with Jesus. And it's never a good place to be disagreeing with Jesus.
Well, they could argue that the inerrancy is what they said that Jesus said. Because if you're not starting with this, then you're opening this up for attack.
Okay, but stop right there. There were many Christians before that any of that book was written.
Right.
So do you have to believe in an inerrant Bible to be a Christian?
They believed that the Old Testament was inerrant.
Yeah, but
that's why they believed the resurrection, because the Old Testament prophesied of the resurrection.
No. That's not why they believe the resurrection.
That's why Paul was arguing from the scriptures.
Yeah, well, he was trying to show that it's predicted, but the reason he believed in the resurrection was because he witnessed it, not because he saw it in the Old Testament. After he witnessed it, he went back to the Old Testament and said, wow, I never noticed this before. Okay? So there were Christians long before there was a Bible. And so you can be a Christian.
The Bible was before before Jesus even came to the earth. They had the Bible, and that's what Jesus quoted.
Before there was a New Testament. There were Christians before. Remember, the New Testament is a evidence of the resurrection and an evidence of Jesus' teachings. It's not the cause of the resurrection or the cause of Jesus' teachings. It's the result of Jesus' teachings and the resurrection. Think of the New Testament, particularly the Gospels, as newspaper reports of what happened. Okay? And then the epistles are, how do we live if all this is true? And then Revelation is the consummation of all things. In fact, in the New Testament, you have 4 divisions. You have the historical propagation of the gospel. That's the gospel. Those are, let me say it another way. The historical propagation of Jesus, what Jesus said and did. Then you have the historical propagation of the church in the book of Acts. Then you have the application of what Christianity is all about. Those are all the epistles. And then you have the consummation of what Christianity is all about in the book of Revelation. So you have those 4 divisions.
Both Jesus and the apostles were relying on the scriptures to make their argument. Jesus was constantly quoting from the scriptures.
Yes, he was quoting the Old Testament, but they weren't relying on the Old Testament to show that Jesus had risen from the dead. They just applied some things from the Old Testament in the New Testament to say the Old Testament has predicted this. But I got to move on to some other folks, okay? Thanks for your question.